Hello and welcome to another Table Topics with me, Tim Lanning. Today we are going to talk about this little book right here, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden. I received this about 4 or 5 days ago, and I've spent the past several days going through the book in order to kind of get my initial impressions. We're going to start today's video with spoiler-free thoughts about these dices, these notebooks, and the most important thing here, the D&D ampersand pop socket, which I'm using on my own phone. See, it's great, functional. Let's start off the top. I'm going to say a few things about the notebook that they sent out with the pack. They didn't mention whether or not you would be able to purchase your own self, but it has this alternate style of art on it from the collector's edition, which you can get at your friendly local game store. And then inside is just grid paper with the D&D ampersand at the bottom. That's kind of neat. But again, I don't know if you can buy this, so I'm just gonna, I guess I'm bragging now on accident. I'm sorry. I don't want to be bragging, but here I am. So I'll put this over here. It's kind of propped up. All right, dice, let's start with it. Everyone's favorite thing. We'll start with a mini unboxing of the dice stuff. People love, you know, that I take extra time here out of your day to have me open this. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we got Ice Baby, or Ice Dice Baby. Planning an expedition to Icewind Dale, prepare for a cold reception by arming yourself with dice that bring the heat. Components: 11 dice, 2d20s, yada yada yada. Player-friendly fold-out map of Icewind Dale and 10 towns. Durable felt-lined box that functions as 2 dice trays. 20 double-sided cards with the descriptions and illustrations of characters and creatures one might encounter in Icewind Dale. So I'm just going to open this, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to ooh and ah. I will hide the spoilery bits, hopefully, from all of you. Little plastic on top. We love to see it. Oh, look at the dice. Math rocks. Oh, it sounds good to hear. Okay, so yeah, we got this little snowflake topper with felt. Such a joy to roll into. Let me roll both these D20s. Both of these D20s look like not quite see-through or transparent, but kind of just on this side of opaque with a little glitteriness, which I believe is probably a reference to ice and a oh god, I have not said this word out loud. I just realized I've never said the word out loud. Chardrin? Which is a thing in there. Chardrillin. I just looked it up. And now I'm questioning myself if I said that correctly. Chardalin. Anyways, the dice are beautiful, but how do they roll? Let's do it. A 14 and a 2. Not great. Average out, not great, but that's not why we're here, folks. Yeah, you get this whole set here. You know, everything that you need to play a D&D, including the 4 D6s for character creation, which we all know and love. Yeah, they're dice. They're beautiful. They're the resin or plastic. They're dice material. You know, the material dice are made out of. Let's look at some of these cards. Let me just secretly get rid of it. Oops, any of the spoilers. So yeah, there is a few of these handout cards, which are pretty great. So if your characters go up against this spooky moose, you can show them that, or a black ice berserker, which, you know, who knows what that means? That's not important. But yeah, it's a great way to be able to, at your table, assuming you're in person, you're able to hand them a thing like, this is what you're dealing with, and on the back it's like, here's a Yeti. The settlers of Icewind Dale have many superstitions. One such belief is that the howl of a yeti echoes with the voices of those who have perished at nature's behest through avalanche, blizzard, or Stygian cold. The yeti's wails unlock a primal fear within the hearts of those who hear them, but such howling is simply a call to the pack that warm prey huddles nearby, and hunt is on. It carries not the voices of the dead, but foretells the deaths of those who tremble at its sound. Something inside us knows this, and so we fear. Long before the people of Tin Towns accepted me, I roamed the tundra, keeping these monsters from their doors. I am no stranger to turning into my own primal instincts. I hunt hunters, and my blades have painted many a mountainside red with yeti blood. That's by my friend and yours, Dritz Doerd, and he's not in the adventure as far as I know, but he is, all of these are written from Dritz's point of view, which is pretty cool. I forget who was writing the perspective of the previous ones. I don't remember. Not important, but it makes it a little more fun, a little more in-world, which I think is rad. I'm not going to go through all of these because I don't want to potentially spoil, to show you that, hey, there's a kobold or a troll, or whatever. But these are super helpful. It's a fun thing, and the double rolling tray immediately turns into a whole thing, and I like it. Check yours out at your friendly local game store, brother. Also, inside here you get a fold-out map. Don't entirely know what the difference between these two are, but maybe just because it's like a smaller fold-out map. Yay. This is a cousin, a copy, if you will, of the one inside the book, which includes maps for each of the 10 towns and 10 towns, as well as Icewind Dale proper. Let me double check to see if these are... Yeah, this is the player version as far as I can tell, meaning you are safe to hand this to them because it doesn't include any of the spoilers. But yeah, those are the dice. I think they're a fun, great thing. I'm really glad that Wizards is doing that, and I'm excited to go through and read the little lore bits by my good friend Dritz. You know I love Dritz. I hope he's in this adventure, but I don't know. The other important thing is this scarf. I'm using this scarf right now as accoutrement of my gamer's content creator table, so I'm not going to unfold it. I also don't know if you can buy this. But I'm so excited for this winter to come so that I can absolutely stunt on all my gamer nerd friends with my awesome scarf. More importantly, though, Pop Socket. I bet, like, at the D&D events, there'll be giveaways and buy these stuff. That's my assumption. I do not know. I just love the Pop Socket so much, so I want to show it off. Even though it's maybe not why you're here, but maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see Wizards do fun new things. All right, let's get into brass tacks here, friends. Rime of the Frostmaiden. What are my thoughts? Just up front, I'm going to do my very best to talk a little bit about it without any spoilers. Though there are going to be a few, I guess you'll say, settings spoilers or pitch spoilers. So if you are a person who doesn't want to know literally anything, if you're a player and your DM's like, okay, I got Rime of the Frostmaiden, we're playing it, don't learn anything about it, then I will simply say, I think I like it. I think I like it. I will say that after playing through most of Descent into Avernus, I can now tell you I do not like Descent into Avernus. I think it has a lot of problems. I'm going to do a retrospective video soon, at some point, but there's a lot of problems with that adventure, in my opinion. So if you are a player and you want absolutely no spoilers, including, like, the concept, let's say spoiler tier 1 is starting now. Alright, spoiler tier 1, still technically no spoilers, but in case you wanted to be absolute blackout mode, this is where I'll talk about vague things about it. So the basic gist is Icewind Dale, the whole area up there, and 10 towns, the 10 towns within Icewind Dale, has been under perpetual winter for the past, I believe, 2 years. And your characters maybe got to do something about it, or not, I'm not sure. The cool thing about Icewind Dale and 10 Towns in the setting in this book is it kind of assumes that no one would really willingly go here. It's not like Waterdeep or Baldur's Gate where an adventurer would just be like, hell yeah, let's go do stuff. But, there is some hooks there wherein your characters could be on the run, or they could be wanting to explore this area. They could be from this area. So yeah, basically whenever you have your players go to somewhere that is a little more dangerous, you kind of have to throw in some extra reasons why they're there. Icewind Dale is inhospitable, so because of that, it's not necessarily the first stop. So that there is a lot of fun plugs there, where your characters can be outlaws, or just simply put, it's almost like a frontier situation as well, wherein I want to make my name for myself away from the big city. So it can be something as simple as that. All that being said, the adventure structure, again, this is still in spoiler zone 1, which I consider not spoilers. The adventure structure is a lot more loose, which is good. One of the negatives I thought about Descent into Avernus is how straightforward it is, to the extent of having just straightforward quest chain in Baldur's Gate, straightforward quest in Avernus that makes one split, both of which are kind of uninteresting, with amazing places to go to. But from an adventure standpoint, it's not compelling. But luckily, Rime the Frostmaiden kind of is. Now, I haven't read the entire book. I've read the first 80 pages, which is kind of like the background information and things like that. And then I read the kind of subsequent chapters that are about sort of the meat of it, so to speak. The major bad guys, I guess you'd say. And this is not me. I won't really know until I run it. It's kind of the unfortunate problem. I mean, again, in Descent into Avernus, there was this encounter with your level 2 or 3 characters with these monsters, or creatures, I guess, that are so strong that I was like, if I hit any of you, I'm going to kill you. This is not fun. This is a problem I don't know how to solve. So I'm not really speaking to that standpoint for Rime the Frostmaiden, but from just what I'm looking at, from the basic setup to the big action beats, and oh my gosh, there is something in here that is so cool that I kind of wish I didn't read, and I wish I played it as a player. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I don't know how your players are going to handle it, but let's just say choice matters. And on top of that, even from a branching choice perspective, things can get pretty disgusting in the area. So I think my final spoiler zone 1 thought for players, I would say it's good. It seems rad. If you're into kind of the survival aspect of it, Tomb of Annihilation probably wasn't for everyone because it was a hex crawl. This is not a hex crawl, but it's very, very cold in Icewind Dale, surprising no one. So it's not gonna be quite the same situation where you're able to go from town to town, where it's friendly, where it's safe. Some of these towns kind of suck, but because of that, you're kind of getting into some what I kind of see as crunchy D&D, which I think is really compelling. And from what I've read of the book, again, this is just my initial sort of read about half the book impressions, not kind of mathed out the encounters. I think it's really rad. I think it follows a quest structure where you're just adventurers being adventurers, and then from there on, depending on your choices, you go and do cooler things. As long as your characters like to be heroes and get treasure, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. If you don't really want to play in a place where your characters are always going to be cold, if you're kind of in a situation where it's I don't want to keep sleeping in attics, I want to be able to return to civilization, then maybe, this is not the adventure for you, but I still think it's pretty rad. So yeah, some other quick non-spoilery thoughts I would say are there's a lot of cool things to be done with wilderness survival. I think if you're a player who enjoys things like that, you'll have fun here. I think as a DM, I don't know why I'm including this in the spoiler-free zone, maybe just because if you're a player and you want to help recommend, I think there's a lot of really fun ways to bend this adventure to your will, so to speak, where things aren't quite chains. if that makes sense. Now that being said, let's kind of speak more broadly as well, even with outside of the spoiler zone. I think every single published book that I've looked at from Wizards is worth the money. I think that's just true. The only time it gets a little weird is when you're buying it on D&D Beyond, physically, then on Roll20 and things like that, so that's when you kind of got to be a little more selective. But even Descent into Avernus gives you all sorts of juicy stuff about Baldur's Gate, and then tons of hell-based adventures, locations, so even with all the negative things I have to say about the structure of Descent into Avernus, I still think it's worth the money. I mean, like, there's so many cool things there. This, it feels exactly the same way, and then more so because it, again, don't really know, because I haven't, kind of plotted out how I would DM this adventure yet. Because I don't do that until the last minute. But the whole thing just seems like, okay, do your players start here? Do they go here? Which of these quests seem fun to them? So you can kind of pepper little rumors here and there. Love it. So let's end the spoiler zone 1, and I guess just rip that spoiler band-aid off. Again, final moments, if you're going to be a player in this game, I think it's cool. You get to fight a god. Wait, let me read the back. I bet the back of the book might be interesting to some of you. Some secrets are worth dying for. In Icewind Dale, adventure is a dish best served cold. Love that. Beneath the unyielding night sky, you stand before a towering glacier and recite an ancient rhyme, causing a crack to form in the great wall of ice. Beyond this yawning fissure, the caves of hunger await. And past this icy dungeon is a secret so old and terrifying that few dare to speak of it. The mad wizards of the arcane brotherhood long to possess that which the god of winter's wrath has so coldly preserved, as do you. What fantastic secrets and treasures are entombed in the sunless heart of the glacier, and what will their discoveries mean for the denizens of Icewind Dale? Can you save 10 towns from the Frostmaiden's everlasting night? Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden is a tale of dark terror that revisits the forlorn, flickering candlelights of civilization known as 10 Towns, and sheds light on the many bone-chilling locations that surround these frontier settlements. A Dungeons & Dragons adventure for characters of levels 1 to 11, for use with the 5th edition Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and Dungeon Master's Guide. So yeah, now we'll end the... we'll end it there for the players. Get out. Go. Spoiler Zone 3, let's go. DMs, Jesus, I don't even know what to say. I was pro this book as I was reading it, because it was like, oh, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's a lot like if you've checked out the Essentials kit, in that it's some D&D, in that your characters are there and they're doing quests, as opposed to, like, you hear that there's an archdevil and they're gonna be naughty. Sure, that's a kind of flip way to describe Descent into Avernus. Or it's also not a situation where your characters are inherently, like, whisked away to Strahd Town or anything like that. I mean, there are some, like, hooks they give you to let your players want to be there if they're not from there. Generally speaking, it's kind of aimed at, like, okay, your adventurers just happen to be in Icewind Dale. Here's what fun they can do. The first chunk of the book is describing the individual 10 towns of 10 towns and the sort of adventures therein. I do think there are a few things that I'm never gonna get over the way that, I guess you'd say, Dungeons and Dragons adventure books are made. There's a situation where it's like, oh, if they can't do this, then this happens. But very rarely does X lead to Y lead to Y2. It's usually like, okay, well, they need to find this trail and they need to make a survival 10 check. One thing I've been kind of noodling to myself, if we can speak one-on-one here, is maybe I need to relook at the Dungeon Master's Guide, because I don't feel like I've read all of it. I know I haven't read all of it. And maybe they do a better job there of being like, hey, here's how to kind of deal with the fact that your players just failed a skill check and they can't get through this door, or they can't find the murderer, or they can't detect the magic, blah, 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 blah. Too many of the adventures that I've read, which is Waterdeep, Descent to Avernus, and a chunk of this, and I've skimmed some of the other ones, is very much like, oh, you gotta find a thief. They ran through this door. Make a lockpick check or make a perception check. It doesn't do a good enough job, in my opinion, of telling you, the dungeon master, what to do if your characters beef it. I know that I accidentally get stupid brained whenever my players ask me a question I'm not quite ready for, or whenever my players do something that isn't outlined in the book. Much less something that is outlined in the book, but they fail a basic check. So with that all being said, they don't solve this. Doesn't really seem like they're going to. It doesn't really seem like they see it as a problem. I have no idea. Maybe me, Tim Lanning, will be better at this when I DM more. It might be something that simple of, once you dungeon master over and over and over again, you get more flexible. That could be a me thing. But I do oftentimes look at all of these from a new DM's perspective. That's how I approach most of these things. New to moderate, I guess. Definitely not someone that's an expert like Michael Tomorrow or anything like that, because, he doesn't need a book like this. I don't either sometimes, but I still like to buy nice things. All that being said, that problem still persists, but there's a chase scene in this book. It's not a chase scene. There's a Duergar that builds a dragon. If you've looked up the WizKids minis for this, it's like a robot dragon thing. That is so cool, that is literally going to destroy the entirety of Tin Towns. And it's in the first chunk of this book is them going around, making a name for themselves, getting treasure, getting loot, getting friends, getting adventures, and yada yada yada, defeating evil, and very, very heroic. And then they have to make a choice. And it feels like the book kind of leans on this. They have to make a choice. They have to go stop this Duergar dude. And when they get there, when their quest is go stop this guy because he's building a dragon to kill us. When they get to this fortress, they see the dragon is finished. They're too late. They can never. I don't think there is a way to ever be on time. But basically, they have to choose between. You have to pitch them. Do you continue on to the fortress and take out what's his nuts, or do you take out this dragon? And for every hour that they're inside, if they choose to go to the fortress, for every hour they're inside, this dragon just destroys the entirety of this location. Sure, Baldur's Gate could be taken into Avernus if the players fail, and Elturel, which no Elturel does get snatched into it in the beginning of Descent to Avernus, but this happens in the middle of the book. And it's just it's a cool thing. And it goes through and tells you, okay, it takes the dragon 2 hours to fly here. It takes it 1 hour to destroy the city. Half the population dies. They're too weak to hurt it. Next city, next city, next city, next city. All the way on to destroying everybody. And it's even cooler because the villain of this first part, this Duergar, knows that they're every citizen of Tin Towns is going to run to this one city. And he saved that city for last. And if your players just go to the fortress and take long rest, take short rest, take long rest, take short rest, they're going to come out and everyone's going to be dead. There's just going to be some refugees and some smoldering leftover areas, but that's it. The entire Tin Towns will be destroyed. And that's pretty heavy. I think that's pretty rad that you can kind of do stuff like that in an adventure like this. I don't really know how the end of this adventure kind of works, I guess you'd say. I've skimmed it, and the whole gist is sort of you go find this ancient magic palace. And one of the endings, again, if you're a player, if you're a player, okay, I'll forget this stuff. I can hear some of it, not a big deal. Please leave, because this is wild. There's two things that can happen that are in the end of this book. You can get a scroll of summoning a Tarrasque, where you can use that to summon a Tarrasque, and maybe that helps you solve kill the god that's in this book, Oral, or do who knows what. But then you just have a Tarrasque running around, and that will also destroy the rest of Tin Towns and Icewind Dale. The other thing that can happen is you time travel. It resets the state of the realm 1,500 years. So the players go from, we have to save Icewind Dale and all of our friends that we've met along the way, to being way before Waterdeep even exists, before Baldur's Gate, before really everything that we know. They kind of give a hint, like, okay, to get some of this older stuff, you can look at this, but they don't even say. They're like, just go do the research yourself. We're not going to tell you. So that's like one cool thing. Like, I think sometimes for DMs, you do kind of want these like boom, boom moments of, here's some things that could happen. Again, that's like last session type stuff after, dozens and dozens of sessions. So that's not really something to like put your stamp down. Good adventure. In what I think. But I think that all that stuff is really cool. I think the fact that this book goes places and starts off so small, I think one of the problems of some of adventure design, and this is a vague statement, not really pointed at anything, not even pointed at Descent to Avernus, is your players can't always save the world. I think for this one, they're not trying to save the world at the beginning. There are bad things that are happening throughout every single sort of quest chain, I guess you'd say, throughout this book. There's this idea that this god here, Oral, is going to kill everyone just because the sun doesn't shine ever. She kind of like rides a bird, and the bird is like, no more sun. And that's kind of like the background of the adventure, is like everyone in Icewind Dale is going to die because all the food is going to die, all the water is going to freeze, yada yada. There's no more plants because the sun never rises. So it's been that way for I think 2 years. The adventure says so. Yeah, that is like what you think you're getting into. And then they have this thing where there's Duergar hidden everywhere, and these Duergar are looking for Charladen. I read the pronunciation guide, but I forget it. And they're stealing from everyone. And the real bad guy is this king of the Duergar that's going to come out and destroy 10 towns. And if you don't stop him, he'll do it. And that part's rad because he has his sons and subjects, I guess you'd say, hidden throughout 10 towns. Early on, depending on where you start, there's going to be a box that say, hiding inside this abandoned blah 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 are 6 Duergar, who will kill the adventurers if they find them or something like that. So there's a lot of really fun things there. A lot of like sprinkled bits of the final parts of the adventure. There's so many things in each of these towns that the write-ups are only a couple pages, depending on if they have a quest that has like a longer like dungeon, I guess you'd say. Each of these sections have like a lot of good stuff to them. Your players might not go to every single town, but they probably will, I think. And each of the towns seems to have enough character that it would be fun for it. And the part that I didn't really dig into is all the stuff outside of 10 towns, where because that's where it's like, it starts off small and then just balloons out to the entirety of Icewind Dale. So I was like, I'm not going to read all the little quests there. So if I do end up running this, which I am, I guess Happy Hell Hour Season 2 will be Hell Freezes Over and will be this. My plan is to figure out, based on my player's backstory, which town to start in. That's kind of like what you want to do. And then as we go along, eventually figure out what is the coolest locations outside of 10 towns and lead them there. Because the structure goes, do quests inside 10 towns. After that, you start doing quests outside of 10 towns to like ancient dwarven ruins, go help the Goliath tribes or things like that. And then from there, you find out, because it's still like every other adventure broken down by level. So once you get strong enough, that's when you, the DM, are like, okay, now you have to deal with Duergar King. Go get him. And then I'm kind of unsure of how the rest of it goes. It kind of confused me when I skimmed through it, because it's like, okay, deal with the king. If you kill the dragon, like your players either go kill the king or kill the dragon. If they kill the king, the dragon will destroy most of 10 towns, depending on their choices. If they go after the dragon will run away back to the king, and then the players can go and and kill the king and destroy the dragon while it's being healed, which is fun. And then after that, you have to try to find this old wizard town that is hidden underneath ice, and Oral, the god of like ice, winter, more or less, or like just like the concept of like destroying cold, she hoed it under the ice, and now these ancient sect of wizards want you to help find it, and that's like a really cool thing. But it's like, you can kill the god of winter, before you go do this stuff. So I don't know how one would make a hook of that other than some of the coolest MFers to ever live. Their town is frozen in this ice. There's gotta be cool treasure there, which is probably enough now that your players are strong enough, and you can probably dangle a little bit of juicy, like, okay, well, you got rid of the god of winter, and now the sun's gonna shine, but now there's these wizards who are gonna unleash like this horrible thing, I guess. I don't know. So I'm looking forward to figuring out how that ties in. It did feel a little weird I think it's like chapter 4 or 5 or something, where it's like, okay, if you kill the god of winter, who's like, it's the person on the cover. When you kill the big bad, what now? Well, then you have the big dungeon afterwards, and you have this other stuff. But they do make concessions in case your players don't kill the demigod, and move on from there. It's a little weird, but again, this is from an ignorant standpoint. This is not a full review. I didn't read every single page. This is just kind of like my review of the vibe and my impressions of the whole thing at all. So there might be an answer there. There might not. It just didn't jump out. But again, that's no fault. I didn't read the whole book. Final thoughts here, friends. I think Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden is pretty special, pretty cool. It follows a similar structure of just frickin' go out and get quests. After 3 quests, your players level up. Who cares what those quests are? It's just how it is. that's what the Essential Kit does, and that's pretty fun. I think that is just a fun way to do it. I am curious if the lack of a straight shot narrative is going to be a problem. And I don't believe that's the case of this adventure, because your players can run into certain factions that know what the long sort of in-game are. Some of those wizards that can make things quite bad for the area of 10 towns show up depending on which town you go. So yeah, it's a little awkward to some extent, but there's a lot of really cool stuff, and I love how open world it is compared to the literal straight shot that I have Baldur's Gate. I mean, cool thing. But yeah, I shouldn't talk about Descent to Avernus anymore, because that's not what this one's about, and they don't really connect. Although Asmodeus is behind this, which is kind of cool, which makes me think, wait a second, is there gonna be more Asmodeus stuff? Are we gonna kill Asmodeus? Are they setting up for a friggin' level 20 adventure? That can't be the case, can it? I don't know. But Asmodeus is also part of the reason why this is happening. And Asmodeus is part of the reason why friggin' Descent to Avernus is happening. You know what I'm saying? So that is cool. I don't know what that means long term, but I do think the fact that it sort of ties into that is kind of rad. Anyways. Final thoughts. It seems good. It seems rad. I'm not looking forward to running wildernessy stuff. I like urban adventures versus the wilderness. I think there's a lot of ways your characters can just die or lose fingers from frostbite and things like that. I'm sure I'll have fun once I do it, but not every adventure can be Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and that's okay. I think the structure is going to be rad. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So my initial impressions are, this feels good. It feels like it could be one of the better adventures that Wizards have made, and the art is so good. The art is so good. The art's always good, but the art's really good here. I do wish there was some gimmick to this one, like the tavern from Waterdeep or the cars from Descent to Avernus. There doesn't really quite seem to be a gimmick other than save that they can fight a demigod. Maybe there's one. I don't know. Maybe they get one in the more broad chapter. And I guess I don't have to have a gimmick, because this one's very much like your adventurers go do stuff, like I said. So, anyways, that's my Rime of the Frostmaiden thoughts. I think it's pretty rad, man. I'm excited to play it. I think it's gonna be cool. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to this channel for other fun stuff. Let me know in the comments below, what type of adventures you most like to run, whether it's urban setting, whether it's like a hex crawler, or a fun wilderness with a specific type of weather, whether it's hell, where it's hot, or Icewind Dale, where it's cold. There are parts of hell that are cold, and that man is the whoever runs that layer of hell, Stygia or whatever. He's in here too. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what type of content you enjoy running, and tell me what other, I guess, products you want me to chat about, because now that I have this table and tablecloth, sky's the limit, baby. Follow me on Twitter at Tim Lanning. Watch, like, and subscribe, I don't know, whatever, everything on this channel. Go to twitch.tv/geeklyinc, and that's where we do other things there. Please listen to Greetings Adventurers on your podcast zone, and tune in every Tuesday for Happy Hell Hour presents Descent into Avernus. We've been having a lot of fun, even though it has not been my favorite adventure to kind of wrangle, but it's still a lot of fun, and we're getting close to the end, and maybe by the time you're hearing this, whenever you listen to this, we'll be playing this adventure. I don't know. I'm also putting together a one-shot, which by the time this is even out, that might be announced. I don't know. Maybe I'll follow through, and I'm a liar. I don't know. Anyways, I love my pop socket. I'm excited for this scarf. Oh, and the book's good too. Have a great one. Seriously, have a great one. The only time that it gets